because it had too many problems. Okay. By show of hands, guys, how many people here know keyboards? Like, I just want to understand before I start throwing around terms. How many people here understand what some terms mean? Can you raise your hands again? Okay. So most of them know. Okay, so I'll try to keep it. There are a couple of hands that didn't raise, so I'll try to keep it simple. This is not a keyboard talk, though. It's a plot twist. Anyway, so my talk here is basically on CoryDora, which is a Macropad that I built. And I'm here to talk about the supply chain, and I'm going to make a case for local manufacturing. Okay, what does that mean? My goal for this talk is by the end of this, I want to make an argument, and I want to convince you guys that you should support local makers, and you yourself should start making stuff and selling it locally. Right? So my goal for this talk is to convince you guys of this. I'm going to use my product, which is CoryDora, as an example, as a case study, and then we'll go forward. So what is CoryDora? There's a lot of words there. Fully open source, QMK compatible, RP2040 based, 3x3 Macropad. What is a Macropad? It's an additional keyboard with X number of keys. Right? The X can be 3, 2, 1, doesn't matter. It's an additional keyboard of sorts. Okay? This is the CoryDora. Okay? Like I said, it's fully open source, 3D printed, QMK compatible, 3x3 Macropad. What is QMK? QMK is just a open source firmware for keyboards. Think of it as the operating system for keyboards, which is open source. So the Linux for keyboards. Anyway, yeah. And then the RP2040 is just the brains of the CoryDora. Okay. I just want to very quickly touch upon how I built it, right? As most projects do, they start on a breadboard, though there's no breadboard here, right? And then you design a PCB. This particular PCB is from a service called JLC PCB. They're from China. They're an extremely good service. They're one that a lot of, okay, by show of hands, how many hardware folks here are people who build hardware? Okay, that's a sizable amount. Okay, so JLC PCB, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with. They're a very good service. Their price point is really good. But what's happened recently is that the government has imposed taxes on PCB imports. So what that means is a bunch of Indian companies got together and basically complained to the government saying we can't compete with Chinese PCBs. Not the fully built stuff, just the PCBs. And the government, in its infinite wisdom, put I think 30% tax. So what that means is me as a local maker, just someone trying to build a project, have to now pay 30% tax. And here's the really funny part. The 7 or so local PCB manufacturers who asked the government to put the tax on the PCBs won't even answer my call. They look at me and they're like, "Che, go." Like I'm not even worth their time. So it's funny actually that this one decision kind of ruined a lot of opportunities for makers like me. But before I proceed further, right, I just want to say that the problems I'm going to be talking about, the case I'm going to be making is, I would say for folks like me, low-level guys who make low batches of products and sell them, while I believe the problems we share is similar with, say, someone who works at a company that sells like 1 million units or something, while I believe the problems are more or less the same, I think the scale and the intensity of which they are more like a more pro company might face is slightly higher. But I believe the problems are still the same. Yeah, and then the last thing is put it in a case. But yeah, basically it's pretty simple. Make it on a perf board, any hardware product. Make it on a breadboard, get it right, and then make a PCB. And then once the PCB was put in a case, pretty simple. And this is the end product. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about the CoryDora. You guys can come to the booth. I'll convince you guys to buy one there. This is the CoryDora I have. Right, this is actually a very old one, 1 year old, but it still works fine. It's fully open source. It's QMK compatible and VIA compatible. VIA is a way for you to go configure these things. Right? This is a Macropad that you can do a lot of stuff with. And I have a lot of folks who've used this for like stuff I haven't even thought of before. That's just another color we offer. So initially, Amit and I, Amit, myself, and a bunch of other folks run Absurd. We're a maker collective where we're a bunch of makers who want other people to make stuff. So one thing I like to do is when we organize events, I like to give just PCBs or something to folks so that they can go build it. So CoryDora initially started off as just some simple soldering thing that it's a simple project that people can learn soldering on, right? That's why everything designed is through hole and everything. So the whole purpose of this was never meant to be a product. It was just like something I meet someone, I give it away. In fact, how many here have received a PCB from me? Okay, 4, 5, okay. You guys want more, come to the booth, I'll give you one for free. Though make sure Amit is not there because he doesn't like it when I do that, right? Anyway, that's the whole point. Like I had no intentions of selling this as a product or whatever. This was just something I meet people, I give it to them, here, go build this. But what happened is over time I took this to places and I would give it out to more and more people, right? A lot of folks were like, Balu, I want this. I want this. And I'm known as the keyboard guy in this community, which is not something I wanted, but it was something that was put on me. So once people found out that I'm making this thing and more people wanted, and some were even willing to pay for it. So around the same time, actually the same time last year, in IndiaFOSS 2024, I put out this tweet that just said, I'm going to make a small low order batch of 10 units. Anyone interested, come. Expecting no one is going to come. This thing sold out in like the first 2 hours, right? Not only did it sell out in 2 hours, we had guys come to IndiaFOSS just to buy this. They bought the ticket to the event, bought 2 CoryDoras and left, right? So this was an experiment for us in many ways, because at around the same time, Amit had this idea of starting a platform to sell products, right? Because up until now, we were just a community that were building stuff. We were not really doing anything from it, but we really wanted to do something. And this was a great incentive. Amit was working on a couple of products. A bunch of other folks were working on a bunch of products. So the timing of everything worked out well. By the way, not to mention, CoryDora was not the only product we sold in IndiaFOSS last year. We sold a bunch of other products as well. All of them are available in the booth. So last year we started off, I think, with 3 products. I'd say 3 products. And it did well, actually. It did quite well. We sold them all out. And after we sold them all out, people were still coming and asking us, we want to buy this. So Amit, I think Shrestha, spun up the most sketchiest pre-order page in the world. And people still paid, right? We told them we'll ship it in 2 months. They still paid. They gave us money. And my brain could not comprehend that, right? It's the sketchiest site out there. People still gave us their money to buy this. So at that point we were like, okay, this is maybe something we can do. Up until now, I was very skeptical. Who's going to buy this? Okay, 10 units, fine. It's just the crowd and maybe the people here know me. So okay, fine. But once I saw that the pre-orders were going, that's when we kind of realized, okay, we're going to maybe we should give this a shot. So not only CoryDora, but across all the products we had, we kind of seriously worked on them. We kind of pushed the pre-orders a little. We got more orders, put them out there. And CoryDora has shipped to we have 27 states, right? I think CoryDora has shipped to 13 states. There's someone using CoryDora in 13 states in this country. Oh shit, I should have put the screenshot here. I actually have an order from Costa Rica. A guy somehow found this in Costa Rica and reached out to me and it's if I pay for shipping, can you send it to me? So Amit and I are currently working out how to send this to him. But the community response to CoryDora is great, where we have a guy, Rishabh. He's a he's a gold something. He's like a guy that accounts gold. I don't know what he does. Very sketchy. I'm not sketchy necessarily, but I don't understand it, where he uses Tally a lot. So he bought a couple of CoryDoras, and this guy knows a little bit of Python. He wanted more. So the CoryDora has 4 layers. What that means is you see 9 keys here. When I press this button, these 9 keys behave differently. Meaning in layer 1, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I switch to layer 2, this becomes A, B, C, D, right? So I have 4 layers. So that 4 times 9 is, do the math, right? So what this guy did is he was not satisfied with that. He modified the firmware to have like 128 layers. How he remembers that many, I don't know, but he did that, right? And he's like a tally, like this is for tally, right? And yeah, Shrestha over there, he gave a giveaway. We had a bunch of community support who bought 4 CoryDoras, and they were using it for a lot of great uses. Anuj was just telling me that Anuj was another early supporter for the project, and he was telling me earlier today that his friend was using it for like PCB designing and such. It's all like awesome for me, right? And that's where we are right now, which is you guys can go to shop.absurd.industries to buy your own CoryDora. Not only CoryDora, you can use it, you can buy a bunch of other products that are made locally in Bengaluru that are fully open source, and you'll be supporting the local maker movement by purchasing stuff here. Okay, so let's play a game here. I spoke too much about CoryDora. Let's come back to the case here, the actual goal of this, which is making a case for local manufacturing. Let's go through one by one, and you tell me where that part comes from. Okay? The white case, where do you think that comes from? Okay, 3D printer. Where? Home? Anyone else? China? Okay. Okay. Screws, where do they come from? China. Okay. PCB. China. The microcontroller, the electronic parts. China. Switches? Japan. There. And the keycaps? Vietnam. Right? But regardless, right? The word India is not here. Right? I mean, sure, I 3D printed this in my house, so I mean, yeah, you could technically say the cases are from India, but where's the machine from? Right? So that's my thing, which is, why the hell can't we do this in India? Right? And turns out there's a lot of reasons why we can't do this in this country. So, you hear a lot of people say, make in India, make in India, make in India. The problem is everyone expects, in order for you to have a thriving ecosystem of makers building stuff, you need the makers to be able to go buy stuff, buy parts, okay? The hardest part of building hardware in India is finding hardware in India, right? Because everything I have to order comes from abroad, right? Now because I'm a make, like, because I'm a like, what do you say, low order hobbyist type guy, I have to wait like 3 weeks for like an order to come. And even if it's a company, it's not any better, right? 3 weeks becomes like 1 week or something. But the turnover is still there. The parts are coming from abroad. So your time to, like in software, we're very used to like 1 day, 2 day type stuff, where you can go from I have this idea to, okay, it's deployed in like a day. That is unheard of in hardware, right? If you guys can do something in that space, man, you guys are making a lot of money. But that, unfortunately, is not the case in hardware. In hardware, it's just time. Everything is time. Like, my point here is, make in India and find parts in India are 2 completely different challenges, right? And we'll go through them one by one. So, some of the problems, at least with CoryDora in particular, but I think this applies to the grander scale of things, is, like I said before, no small scale supplies, right? The PCB guy won't even talk to me because he won't do my 10 orders. He wants 10,000. And I think Kiran made a good point as well with Misumi, which is they don't do small orders. You need to like have a certain threshold and most people can't meet that threshold, right? And because most people can't meet that threshold, the access to materials that I have is extremely limited. So I'm kind of constrained by the things I can do. Now I can either spend a lot of money, get it, but like Kiran said, right? He has 15 excess units, right? That's not something a lot of folks can absorb if that doesn't work out. Limited access to basics, it goes back to what I said, right? Parts that are commonplace elsewhere are impossible to get here. Switches, the Macropad switches are next to impossible to get here. If you go to the Absurd booth, right? If you go to the booth right now, I can sell Gateron browns and reds because blues are out of stock throughout this whole country. I have been looking for it for 8 months. I could not find another vendor in India that has blues. Whereas I went to Malaysia in 2 months ago. I bought enough. There is so much stuff there. Just I could just walk to a keyboard store and buy as much stuff as I want to, right? Again, access to basic parts. And then the last one is we're still dependent on China, right? I really wish I could do the Donald Trump China thing. I really wish I could like do it in that sound, but anyway, whatever we do, China is like the big brother. It's always watching over us. It's like Sauron, right? Always watching over us. We always have to go through China somehow to get our parts. But here's the thing. Parts, like I said, make in India and finding parts in India are two different things, right? Everything I spoke of earlier was about parts, right, and challenges associated there. But when it comes to actually making stuff, right, here's the thing. Having access to the machines is just not enough, right? You need people who know how to use this machine. If I bought a 3D printer right now and put it in front of you guys, how many of you guys can actually operate it, right? So that's like a very important aspect, and this is why China is winning, right? I think it was Tim Cook who said that in China, they can fill entire football fields with folks, like with CNC operators, injection molding, like those kind of really specific, really specialized skills. China has enough people there to fill entire stadiums with, whereas most other countries, they kind of, that skill has just evaporated off, right? And this is why China is such a dominating power in the manufacturing thing, which is, it's not that they don't have access to tools. They do, that is an important factor, but it's the human aspect of it, the knowledge associated with it, which is why makes beating China extremely hard, and us to get there as well. And a very important thing you need to note is factories don't just make products, they also make the know-how to make the product, right? If you are a company that, say, makes, you know, the old school telephones, right? I forgot what you call the telephones. They were probably made from injection molded plastic, right? So if you're a company who knows how to make that, and say made that for 20 years, and then cell phones become a thing and now your phones are irrelevant. It's not like you're closing shop, right? The wealth of knowledge you've built with injection molding this part, you can just move on to another industry. You can find a new avenue and start selling. Maybe you can start injection molding phone cases or whatever, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? Factories once built don't necessarily just fizzle out, right? The know-how that you've accumulated building it actually compounds, right? Now, why local manufacturing matters. You guys know the Evergreen incident that happened, I don't know, last year or something, right? 2 years ago, right? Some gardener, some ship got stuck in the Suez Canal, and the world went to shit, right? And I think, like Trump's tariffs is another thing. One guy just, like, Trump imposed tariffs on everything for no reason, I guess. I mean, there is a reason, but whatever. I'm not getting into that. And now that's causing global mayhem everywhere, right? And you know, similarly, I think there was another thing where a sudden burst of locusts in Africa led to like global wheat prices fluctuating, right? So it's like things you cannot control can have a bigger impact in your economy and all of those things than you think. And I think Evergreen incident was a great indicator to that. So I just have 4 reasons to why I think we need to build locally and push locally more, which is, first one is the resilience. I think everyone through COVID, I think COVID was a great indicator that showed us that our supply chains are extremely fragile, that even the simplest things can ruin a lot. And I still think a lot of countries are still recovering from the after effects of COVID, right? So by having a very local economy, by having an economy that produces a lot, we are actually we safeguard ourselves from any potential, like for example, Trump's tariff, right? If America goes apeshit on us again in the future, we are a little bit more protected there, because if the recent tariffs things is, he wanted to flood India with American agriculture produce. Now India was able to push back because we are an agriculture superpower. We produce enough like agricultural goods in our country that we can push back on that, right? And we just need to, it's the same idea, but for manufacturing. which we are tremendously back in. Creativity. Again, like we need folks like us, the large scale and then small, to have access to tools, parts, everything, so that they can build stuff, right? Every large company you can think of started off as in a garage with like 4 or 5 guys working on it, right? And that needs to happen, and you need to support that, right? With this stuff like, this JLC PCB, the import, the taxes on PCBs and all that just makes stuff like this extremely hard to do. And it's a very, like when I hear politicians say make in India and they push for manufacturing in India, and then I see them do shit like this, it's like, what is this? It just makes my blood boil, which is, they don't understand the ground realities of these things. And like my business was doing well, getting PCBs from JLC. I've been ordering from them for like 10 years now. And then the sudden thing comes in and I'm screwed, right? So that is there. Community, like I said, if you have access to if you know the tools, if you have the local thing. My grandfather was a machinist in HAL. He left HAL, started a machine shop. He started a construction business. Again, he's just a grade 10th diploma holder. Went to trade. He didn't even go to trade school. He just somehow picked up how to use a machine, like how to use a lathe. And through that knowledge, he started his own machine shop. He started his own construction business. I like to think, it's a result of that where, my strong desire for engineering, my love for engineering comes from there, right? And not only that, it's like, again, you can trace my uncle, my father, everyone, right? It's this whole circle of things that happen. And I think that's why, are you guys familiar with Detroit? Right? It's the state in America that was it did really well during, I think for cars, right? The automobile industry was massive. So when the automobile industry was doing good, Detroit was just, the people there were swimming in money. The local economy was good, everyone was doing good. But then when the automobile industry dropped, Detroit is now in poverty, right? So local manufacturing can uplift entire communities. And then the last thing, independence, like I said, right? We don't have to always rely on China. If China decides to go apeshit on us like America is right now, we are a little bit more protected, right? But here's the thing. One argument people will make is, but locally made stuff is more expensive. It's true, right? Locally made stuff is more expensive because you're paying a premium for resilience and independence. Now, this sounds great to say, right? But will someone be willing to pay $300 for a shirt that they can get for $60 shirt? I think okay, let me change. Is someone willing to pay $300 for a shirt that they can, $1,000 for a shirt that they can get for $300? Right? I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you. Right? I don't know how to answer that. All I can say is I believe we do need to support local makers, right? And consumers need to buy locally for smaller communities and smaller makers to thrive, right? So I'm going to end with some good news. Everything I said, yeah, I painted a pretty gloomy picture, but actually good stuff is happening. We have a lot of companies right now that are changing the narrative of manufacturing in this country. We have companies like Line Circuits, and there's one more PCB Power, I forgot to include them. But these are, I no longer now have to go to JLC PCB. I can get really good quality PCBs made in India itself, which is unheard of. Like this 2 years ago, right, was unheard of in this country, right? So in one way, the import, I think the 30% tax on import PCBs was good because that enabled companies like PCB Power, Line Circuits to rise up. I highly suggest you guys try Line Circuits. If you guys want to make PCBs, it's like $600, $700. It's extremely cheap, and the quality is extremely high. We have companies like PCB Cupid that make locally Indian-made dev boards, and they offer tremendous support. They're locally made. They're built everything. The parts come from China, of course. We're not there yet where we can make our own ESP32s. But we'll get there, right? And we have and then we have communities, right? Communities like Makerville, Anuj is from Makerville, and like Absurd, where we want people to, and we enable them to do stuff. We educate them on how they can build stuff, and then help them build and launch products themselves. Now, A little bit about Absurd, like I told you. With Absurd, our core thing is we want people to make stuff. And not only do we want to make stuff, we want you to put it out there and sell it. We want to create an ecosystem where of makers and buyers. People make their own tools, people make their own shit, sell it, and then there's an active community of folks who believe in this, who buy their own thing. And that's the goal we have, and I mean we have other goals. Our goal is to Amit's goal is eventually to turn Absurd into an incubator, right, where we can incubate products where okay, if you have an idea and you want to you want help, we'll help you. That's our goal. This year, so this photo was literally, I think this Sunday, where we had everyone in my lab, and we were all like planning how to like for today, like IndiaFOSS, like how are we going to sell the products and everything. Last year in IndiaFOSS 2024, the same day this year, there were 3 products. Today we have almost 12, and we've onboarded almost 4. We've onboarded 4 new makers who have joined with us and are selling their products. Now, our plan is to increase this more and more, and we have guys, and we are actively reaching out to folks to get more folks to talk. If you are somebody who's interested in making your own product and selling it, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. I think Saurabh is here. Saurabh, how old are you? Okay, he's 20 years old, second year of college. He's a student, right? And he had an idea he made up, and we helped him out. I mean, we didn't do shit, but like he did most of the stuff. But he's selling his own product. 20-year-old guy designed his own PCB, designed a case, got it 3D printed, figured out all the logistics for that, and is freaking selling it. And it's just like doing sales like crazy in the booth, right? This is awesome. Like this is the stuff we need to aim for in this country. And Absurd will help you. So this is something that's coming soon. Amit, it's fine. It's too late now, right? One thing we are planning on doing is campaigns. Okay. One thing we found out is a lot of makers are initially, again, the thing with hardware is you need money. Hardware is hard without money. So with this new incentive we've launched, which is campaigns, which is kind of like Kickstarter, where like similar to last year where we had a pre-order page and we asked people to apply and but there we asked them to pay the full amount. Here we're kind of doing this thing where we are starting campaigns where makers in our community can launch a campaign, and then they can open it up for monetary contributions from folks. So you pay like 25% or 30% or 50% of the final price, and then upon delivery you pay the whole thing, or some model like that. We're working on that yet, and then the idea is to launch more products this way. This is coming soon. We're still working on it, but yeah, please. I don't know, what's the word? Please keep an eye out on this. So anyway, finally, my point is, if this tiny thing, right, that's like nothing, depends on parts from so many other countries. It's 3, but still, you guys get the point, right? What does it say about bigger things, right? What does it say about our own EV cars, our own, I don't know, missiles, or our own defense thing, or like, you can just go on and on, right? If the simple thing requires so many things that cannot be done in this country, what does it say about larger things? I'm going to end by saying, please support your local makers, support local manufacturing, and start making yourself, right? Please, we want more people to start making, because I believe this is a circular thing. More people start making, I think we're going to have the local industry flourishing, okay? We can either stay permanent consumers of someone else's factory or start building our own. And I want us to start building our own factories. All right? Join Absurd, guys. Please join Absurd. We're an extremely active Discord community. Please scan this. Join our community. We're extremely active. Like I said, we want to help folks. It's not just me. We have so many guys. Please join Makerville as well. Right? We have to Makerville as well. Please join any kind of join. FOSS United is a great community. Please join these communities, and we can help. So if you are someone who's planning on making hardware product and need help, reach out to us. We'll help you. All right. Thank you. Thank you guys. Have a good day.